Hi, it's Monica with It's Just Sewing, and now it's time for us to talk about those fine details. When you pass your quilt off to us, we want it to look amazing when it comes back to you, and there are a few things that we absolutely need from you. So the first thing we want to talk about is the backing fabric. All right, so your backing fabric needs to be 8 inches longer and 8 inches wider than your quilt top. There is no exception to that, and the reason is because our quilt machine holds the backing as well as the batting into place using large clamps, and that helps to keep the quilt backing very tight so that our quilt machine can run off and on the edge of your quilt easily. So no exceptions, it has to be 8 inches longer and 8 inches wider in order for us to do a really good job. The next thing is squaring up your quilt and preparing it. All right, our expectation is really simple. We want your quilt to be nice and squared up when you bring it to us. So make sure those corners are all trimmed and it looks as square as possible. And we also want it to be pressed and looking really nice and cleaned up. You know, get all those little extra threads off because it's really simple. The better you bring us a quilt, the better it's gonna look when we get it back to you. It really is that simple. Now it's time to talk about batting. So we use a very specific batting for our quilting, and the reason for that is quilt machines are extremely sensitive when it comes to their thread tension. So rather than spending a ton of time fussing with the thread tension, we've decided to go with a really high quality batting, and it keeps it consistent so your quilt will always look good when it's returned to you. We use a variegated high quality thread from King Tut, and the benefit to that is that it's going to be stable and secure for a very, very long time. That thread is extremely strong and very high quality, but it also is variegated, which is super fun because the color tones weave in and out of saturation, and that is such a beautiful effect on a quilt when it's finished. It almost gives the stitch design pattern a little bit of movement and adds some interest to the stitching on top of your quilt. Don't forget to fill out your quilt form below. It's really important to us that we have all of the information, the sizing of your quilt, the designs, the stitch options, the color of thread. If you can't decide on your own, don't worry, we can consult and we can figure out what is going to be best for your quilt. I have a pretty good eye for color and a pretty good eye for design, so I can always help you if you're struggling with making some decisions. Now about the cost. So our cost is really simple and it's actually quite affordable. Below you're going to see the specifics as far as the cost for the quilt finishing, the actual stitching. There is a small thread charge as well as batting charges. We also offer a binding service and a piecing service if you're in need of that. If you have any questions about figuring out how much the quilt is going to be, or if you'd like an invoice sent to you before we actually do the stitching, we can provide that for you. Maybe you don't live in West Seattle. Have no fear. We have shipping information down below. And again, if you get confused at all, just give us a call. We're here for you. Lastly, if you're looking for backing material, you can always check out Beach Bum Fabrics. It's our online fabric shack. And when you buy fabric from us, we waive the piecing charge, which is pretty great. Now, make sure you read the fine details below because I can only cover so much verbally on a video. And I want to make sure you don't have any questions about our quilting service. But in advance, I want to thank you so much for giving us your business and letting us lovingly care for your quilt like it's our own. So thank you very much, and we look forward to helping you with your next quilt.